This video is brought to you in part by the patrons of the Lazy Eyebrow, and from the comments and watch time from viewers like you. Thank you!
And that's basically
What I'm thinking for this peace conference is we put Grimlock in a bow tie and apron, and we sell drinks. The profit we make off the appetizers alone would be enough to fund our Optimus Resurrection project. What do you think?
With you nearly dying.
I think that's a great idea.
Alright, so, Blur, calm down. I can't understand a word you're saying.
Go.
So Hot Rod, I was snooping around the Decepticon face, right? And while I was there, I found this videotape. It was inside a camera, so I was curious and started watching it, and that's right. And that's when I started watching it, and it's a type of Cyclonus and Scourge, right? So the conversation they're having, I think we'll finally get an answer to their identities of who they are and where they come from, and so I saw that and I came as fast as I could to show you. What do you think?
Well, why didn't you say so? Put it on Teletrain too!
Can't believe Galvatron House is out here doing nothing. What a waste of time.
You would do well to respect our great one.
Fine. Hey, Cyclonus. I've got a question for you. One that's been bugging me since that whole Unicron incident.
And what would that be?
Okay, so I know for a fact I'm Thundercracker. I always have been. And I've made my assumptions, but the truth is, I don't actually know. Are you my good buddy Skywarp, or did you come from Bombshell?
Scourge, I'm insulted you even have to ask. Obviously I... You're runabout. Check out this camera I found. You think there's something important on it? Probably. Go get some energy on it.
What the?
Come
Blur,
on, you for
I'm
real?
not excited for
I've
this!
got better things to do tonight than stick around here.
Why hello YouTube! Greetings from the Lazy Eyebrow to a review that is in stark contrast to the last one. This is the review for Voyager class Kingdom Cyclonus. Before we start the review, let's talk about the pack-in card. Cyclonus comes with his trading card. Normally I don't talk about these, but this is actually kind of neat looking. This one is Dinobot, and then it peels off this sticker to reveal a different card that's also still Dinobot. It's an interesting inclusion that I've heard some people mention they'd rather this was a Cyclonus card, and fair enough on that point, but regardless, I'm going to take a sticker, slap it on my workbench, and give the card to my daughter, because she likes dinosaurs. So that settles that. Onwards! Cards aside, here's Cyclonus in his purple space plane. What does this turn into or most closely resemble? Simple, a purple space plane. Like the one we saw him become when Unicron rebuilt Bomb Warp into Cyclonus. And just look at this guy. You compare this to any other mainline Cyclonus attempt in the last decade and there's no contest. This is easily the most spot-on representation of any character's alt mode that has been churned out of the main unit class Rations line. And I think we can thank Season 3 for that. Where Earthrise was able to get extremely close, but had to change things up for legal reasons, with one exception of the Netflix line that is, the imaginative made-up space alt modes of Season 3 of Gene 1 really gets the best version of anything these days. And this isn't even Studio Series, but honestly it sure feels like it should be. This easily feels like it was supposed to be part of the 86 line, whereas something like Jazz could have easily fit into Earthrise. But I get the feeling 3 Voyagers as a single line might have made things the way they ended up being. But like... man, look at this jet! He's got the forward-facing wings, he's at least 50% nose cone. On the back you get 4-hole spots to plug blast effects for some serious afterburnage. Like, I have no doubt in my mind that Cyclonus is the fastest in the fleet. Heck, even the underside of the jet of all things is considered fairly clean, which is a lot more than I can say for the Earthrise Seekers I just reviewed. Cyclonus here has like 30% more nose cone. The fact this turns out so well is nothing short of astounding. Maybe he just takes the nose cone inspiration from Bombshell then. Maybe that's who he really is, and then he just takes the underslung null ray concept from the Seekers. We may never know. One thing I do know, however, is that we're not done exploring features of Cyclonus, for not only does he have a near-perfect alt mode, 4 5mm engine ports, and underslung null ray spots, but he also has landing gear. Like, landing gear. Straight up landing gear. People were surprised I didn't even mention the lack of the one for the Seekers, like that would be something I would be all up in arms about, and the truth is... no, not really. I feel like that would have been a neat but unnecessary extra, especially for a figure in the main line. So to find it here, this is awesome! This is such a neat but unnecessary extra, especially for a figure in the main line. I have a feeling this was put in for the sake of the coronation scene when Cyclonus landed and whatnot, which sort of furthers my line of thinking that this may have at one point been a Studio Series 86 concept, but I'm shocked! This is like the good parts of decade-old engineering, because yes, the universe Cyclonus from way back then had a landing gear too. Back in the era where the engineers behind the toy seemed to have unlimited funding and all the love in the world to pour into the figures. And this just feels like everything great about that figure, but completely overhauled and redesigned to give us our definitive Cyclonus. Last time we had a figure like this, it was Combiner Wars era, and we ended up getting a Combiner torso nobody asked for, and Headmaster Scourge to go along with it, and they were fine for their time, I guess, but this is like, I don't know how much more I can say it's great, because it's great. Like, look at all this work that went into painting the nose cone and getting the actual design right. Check out this windshield. This isn't translucent red plastic with purple paint on top like half of Earthrise seemed to be. Heck no! This is a separate translucent red plastic piece located inside a cast purple cockpit piece. When I first saw this, I couldn't believe my eyes. I'm just so used to seeing something like this slapped together and a bunch of paint thrown on it and it called good enough. But nuh-uh. Apparently Cyclonus is worth putting in the extra effort. Here's a feature we're going to talk about later, but in the meantime, we can pretend this transformation step is like flaps on the jet. Unintended side effect? Absolutely, but I'll take it. So yeah, Cyclonus is awesome. I can't get enough of this weird spaceplane mode that apparently mass shifts, which is sort of odd in my case, considering I love Earth vehicles so much, but hey, quality needs praised. And this is dang near perfect. And near indeed, as there's just one little thing that makes it fall short, like that 1% short of perfect. And that's this right here. It looks as though these are supposed to slot in and conform, however, they don't, and they never will. I tore this figure apart to see if it could be modified to allow it to be conformal, and the answer is, unfortunately, no, for several reasons. For starters, the plating that slots into the thighs for vehicle mode, there's not enough of a cutout to allow it to go any further, so fine, theoretically you could cut more out of the notch, right? Well, you can't do that either, because the part that sticks out so far hits the hips of the robot mode. Which, could this be modified as well? Potentially, but then you'd really mess up the look of the robot mode, and both those parts are plainly visible in robot mode, so honestly, having them slightly askew is a lot better than some mangled up robot mode, so I'll live. And well, at the end of the day, you can always pretend they're like little intake vents like you'd see on other jet planes. So between that and the fact that mass shifting isn't a thing, I'd say is pretty much perfect. And by mass shifting, I mean that if we had a Galvatron, he'd probably have to be this size for a proper bot to plane comparison. Which, not gonna lie, Transformers riding in other Transformers is such a funny but weird concept the show did frequently.
I'm going to kill that Starscream! Who are you? Lord Megatron. I come from a future with an important message from your future self. Well, there's no time for that right now. Starscream is on the other side of the planet about to destroy my master plan! Other side of the planet? Well, hop in.
How? For actual size comparisons, here's Cyclonus next to Earthrise Skywarp and Studio Series Shatter. Other Season 3 characters like Earthrise Runamuck and Titans Return Space Boat McGee. I don't have Studio Series Scourge yet, but I'm really hoping they show up in Canada soon. Earthrise Skylynx and Combiner Wars Ultra Magnus. Titans Return Cup and Siege Springer. Titans Return Hot Rod and Takara Legends RC. So all in all, absolutely fantastic alt mode. Like easily one of the best on-screen representations of any of the G1 cast realized into a mainline figure. The quality to this figure is unreal, and based on the ship alone, I can easily recommend this. I'm going to take a quick commercial break, and after that we'll jump straight into the thing they call Robot. Stay tuned!
The Transformers will return after these messages. We now return to the Transformers.
Welcome back. Transformation for this figure involves untabbing and moving the whole wing assembly up, unclipping the legs from the roof of the vehicle and separating them, pulling the legs out from the knees in their double hinge and spin around the cockpit. On the legs, return the landing gear, open up the engines in the back of the leg, fold up the foot, fold in the engines, and close it all up. On the nose cone, put the landing gear away, open up the door, and fold in the tip. Open up the chest at the bottom to allow this part of the nose cone to open, then swing it all around on this double hinge to Russian doll this nose cone into a compact chunk of plastic. On the torso, you open up the back, rotate this whole assembly around to hide away the nose cone and simultaneously reveal a head, then you close it all up. Move the shoulder plating into place to finish up the torso. On the back, fold these wings in and flip the flaps up to make a smaller wingtip shoulder. Open up the forearms, spin around the engine to hide the port, and reveal a hand, and we're done. And this is just the best! Like, what even was that transformation? This is such a far cry from the days of the Battle in Space 2-pack I once had. This thing just bleeds quality. Like, look at this jet. This is half the length consumed entirely by nose cone. Now look at the robot. What nose cone? The torso is just spot on with translucent parts picking out the detail of the chest and, I guess, a belly button of sorts? Regardless, these are separate pieces. That's awesome. The back is clean, and you could argue if you were expecting 110% accuracy, the cockpit is facing the wrong way, but I don't care. It looks fantastic back here. This is one of the cleanest backs I've seen on any figure, and I'm blown away that they're able to pull this off so well. Or how about the fact they wanted a more cartoon-accurate, slimmer wing design for the robot? Default, it looks like this. But that's not animation accurate. So they made half of it fold into itself so they could have what they wanted in robot mode while also making sure the vehicle looked properly flight-worthy. They brought back light piping. You just don't see that nowadays, and it works so well. For animation, I'm not fond of how it looks just because it can get inconsistent at times, but not gonna lie, this piping works too well to not mention it. The legs, oh my goodness, the legs. I took a good chunk of time from the last review to talk about how they could have improved the design of the legs, and then this figure comes along and shows off that there was even a better way. Look at this. There was some solid engine detail there, and then it just folded up, tucked itself inside, and out popped proper feet. And not only that, but there's landing in there too that's completely unintrusive to the overall robot mode. Just the whole way this was done in such a completely satisfying bit of engineering, and I love it so much. And the literally only downside to all this is right here. That's hollow. Do I care? Not in the slightest. Hollow parts don't bother me, honestly. But the fact that this here is it, that's astounding. The back is a completely solid piece of torso. The forearms are completely round and covered the whole way. The legs are a solid unit no matter which way you look at them. Even the way the joints themselves were executed. Look at that shoulder joint. It looks like it's part of the design, a realistic way that it would be built to accommodate that movement. And it looks miles better than what Earthrise Optimus Prime did. Not saying that was bad or anything, and Cyclonus isn't even the first to do this, but it's just another point to make in the whole look of how much quality they poured into this figure. And here's something else that's right incredible. Cyclonus has not one, but 2 5mm ports in the feet, which is such a far cry from the off-center one of the Seekers. Almost like Unicron saw this flaw when rebuilding and said, no, Cyclonus, you and your Armada will not only have 4 engines in plane mode, but 4 in robot mode as well. I can totally imagine just how much faster, for that matter, how much more agile he is for the redesign than old slowpoke Skywarp. So yeah, basically everything aesthetically about him, from the way things transform, to the accurate design of the feet, the legs, the wings, the arms, the shoulders, all the way up to the 2-head spires, this isn't just semi-perfect Cyclonus, this is perfect Cyclonus. Articulation features a ball-jointed net that has a separate hinge for forward and backward movement that gives you tilt, rotation, roll, everything. Honestly, it's really well executed. Shoulders rotate, move out, elbows bend, wrist rotation, bicep swivel, waist rotation, full splits not only out but front to back too. The knee bends, and I'll admit this next part is a little inconvenient, but there's no designated spot to put the knee, so I put it where the pin is half into the knee. However, because the knee is the way it is, you can extend the calf a little more to add more to the knee joint and then use that to get the knee to bend a little further. The ankle tilts and rocks forward. As for the 3mm display port, it can be found on the bottom of the figure. It's serviceable. I'm not crazy about its placement, but what can you do? Personally, display ports work better at the back of the figure than trying to work it in between the legs of the robot and trying to figure things out that way. But it works. Accessories include this blaster, which is rather screen accurate. It's also been designed so that you can hold it properly, as the way the arms are designed. Holding anything else, say for something like a sword, is like asking G1 Optimus to hold his blaster properly. It just ain't happening. For size comparison, Titan's Return Scourge. Obviously it doesn't work, but until Studio Series 86 shows up, that's all I got. Pounce and Wingspan, Counterpunch, Bombshell, Skywarp, Lifeline, and we'll admit, never thought I'd be digging this out for a reference comparison. And finally, Fans Project Mendosaur, because the Thundercon showed up in Season 3 once or twice. On the Autobot side of things, Punch, Combiner Wars Ultra Magnus, Titan's Return Hot Rod, Titan's Cup, some Generations Junkions, Combiner Wars Silverbolt, to give you some context as to what the last Cyclonus size was, and finally Superion, because all of them guys made Lifeline a thing. So that was my review for Kingdom Cyclonus. I cannot believe that we have such an incredible figure at Voyager price point. I genuinely feel that this is what Earthrise Seekers should have been. This figure took leaps and bounds to make everything work with some clever engineering tricks to reduce the kibble in either mode to practically nothing, and think this figure is probably the best thing on the market you can spend $30 on. While no, I'm not a fan of Season 3 or its movie-driven characters, I cannot at all deny this is one incredible figure on its own. And the fact that it's also the most accurate Cyclonus out there and hands down the most accurate official take on the character, outstanding! This has been the Lazy Eyebrow.
Well, that was quite the review. Cyclonus just kind of came out of nowhere and pressing the pants off me. So yeah, that was the review. Hope you enjoyed it. Do the whole like, comment, subscribe, and the whole Patreon thing. That'd be great. So as for the next review, I don't know. I'd like to continue with this whole Kingdom escapade, but apparently there's no time for that. For Studio Series is apparently upon us. So says Hasbro. So we'll see what the next review is. I've also got something else to complete a quartet, and well, we'll see where that goes too. Thank you all for watching. See you all in the next review, whatever that will be, because apparently I've got a menagerie of options. And until then, this has been the Lazy Eyebrow.